Tirehead, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Carr hanging out with you at the Firehouse Subs in Camden. That song can only mean one thing. We are joined by the one and only Ari Rodi of Gamecock Softball. Ari, how are we doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. What's the story behind the song there for your walk-up?
It was my walk-up song last year, and I just like to pick country music because it soothes me at the plate, but I want something that's going to make the crowd get hyped up, so it was the perfect combination for me.
Would you say it was one of the more popular ones on the team?
You know, I don't know if it's popular, but it's just so memorable because it's so different than
everyone
else's.
Yeah. Sure.
Ari, we talked to you. It was last fall. I was trying to think of when that actually was. It was before your season had started.
I think it was August.
Yeah. You had kind of gotten introduced to SEC football. I remember that part. You were like, "Man, this stuff is awesome." So I was like, "All right, I'm on the same wavelength with Ari here about SEC football." But you had like such high expectations for yourself and the season. Coach Chastain Woodard, and then it like all happened. What has like this experience? I don't even know if you can put it in words at this point. But what have like the last 6 months been like for you and your teammates?
It's been awesome. I wish there was a pause button and we could get more time together, but the belief and the friendship and everything that came from this season, it's hard to put into words, but we just believed in a small little dream, and all 21 of us believed in it, and everything happened. So it's so magical that something special could come out just in one season.
What were the conversations? There's like a lot of pictures going around social media and stuff, after the last game, and obviously a lot of you coming back, some that won't be able to come back next season, but without going into stuff from just the locker room that needs to stay in the locker room, but what were those moments like afterwards, just all gathering together there at the end of the season?
It was tough. It was quiet for a while in the locker room, but then Coach Ash came in and was like, "You guys realize what you just did? You guys were picked last in the SEC, and you were one game away from Oklahoma City." So I think just having really good perspective on what we did accomplish this season was a lot easier for us to understand and, take everything in from what happened this season, ending it not the way we wanted to, but just being proud of everything that we did do.
And what are the emotions 4 days removed from it ending that you now kind of had the chance to look back on everything that you did accomplish and how magical this season was?
It's a lot easier to process now. In the moment, I was like, we were 1 out away, but now I'm just so grateful for the season that we did have and the experience that we had together and kind of the magic that we brought to Columbia.
Speaking of that experience, so regional stadium is packed, high energy. Super regional, it was like it maybe even took another step forward. What was that like, just, being in that atmosphere? I got to imagine that's kind of one of those things you kind of dream of as an athlete, as a competitor. And how did you kind of walk that balance? All right, I want to kind of enjoy all this, but then I've got to kind of get back to my training and not make it too much of a big deal. I've got to go perform as well. Just how was it playing in front of those fans and just being on that platform?
It was awesome. Truly eye-opening. I've played in regionals before, but I've never been the home team, so it was nice being on the other side of that. But you honestly just had to take a second before we went out for lines before every game and just look up into the crowd and just acknowledge all the fans that were there and take it all in. But then the second that the first pitch happened, it was game time, and you tried to ignore it, but we obviously did feed off of the fans' energy, so it was a big help being at home.
When you look back at the season, and you mentioned Coach Chastain Woodard, what is it about, now that you've played a season here, you've obviously played 4 before, but just here, what do you think were the buttons that she pushed throughout the course of the year and the rest of the coaching staff that helped put you and your teammates in position to do what you did?
I think it's their love for Columbia and for the university. This is Coach Ash's dream job. She's said it multiple times. So I think her passion just impacted us, and we wanted to play for her and play for something bigger.
We obviously, and again, Ari Rodi from Gamecock Softball joining us here. We see Coach Chastain's emotion in her press conferences when she was introduced a year ago, in tears of getting her dream job, the emotion in unfortunately losing over the weekend. Behind closed doors in the locker room, what is that emotion like when talking to you guys, either before a game or after a game like we had this past weekend?
She's our biggest rock. She somehow knows exactly what we need to hear when we hear it, and if that's more of a fired up speech or, serious, like, she just knows how to read us so well, and she's just such a mother figure for all of us, and she's so loving and caring, and I've been grateful to play for her for all 3 years, but you see the perspective from the girls who haven't had that sort of culture or environment to play at, and they're just so grateful to play for her. So I think I've been so lucky to have my entire college career with her, but it's eye-opening to the people who haven't.
Speaking of that, Ari, so I know we had you on last year. We also had Jory Hurd, who was, she's on the other side of that. They're coming in as a new staff. She's been here, but she's like learning, all right, are these people what they say they are? And I remember thinking, all right, they've got like this Charlotte contingent coming in. They've got a couple of, they got Oklahoma over here. They've got Emily coming in left field. And then they've got the returners. How is she going to make all this like come together and actually not be little cliques throughout the roster? And y'all said all the right things back then, but I was thinking that's going to be a key to this whole thing working. Obviously it did. Was there a moment maybe last preseason where you were kind of like, all right, everybody is kind of coming together as one team as opposed to these people from different groups?
Yeah, we had a team gathering, no coaches, and we kind of set out for what our goals wanted to be for the season. And one of the biggest thing was getting rid of all of the titles between the returners, the transfers, the Charlotte group, and coming together and saying, well, we're all here playing for South Carolina, so we're all part of the South Carolina softball team, so it doesn't matter who came from where, we all have one mission at this point. And I think that was the biggest turning point in preseason, and I thought that kind of reflected in some of our fall games. Some of the fall games in the beginning were a little bit rough, just trying to figure each other out, but then by the time our last fall ball game came,
mm-hmm.
it was started to become seamless, and it was really eye-opening to see, and it was going to be like, oh wow, we're going to be ready to come out come February.
Who called that meeting? Like a players only type, or not meeting, but gathering? How did that just like come about?
I think it was the seniors. I think, in the senior group you had all of those different groups of people, and
right.
I think they were kind of tired of hearing it, and honestly it was the best conversation we could have had, but I'm pretty sure it was all the seniors.
When you make the transition from Charlotte, and you guys played against SEC teams and stuff when you were there, but being in the grind of the SEC week in and week out, how big of a difference was that once you actually got into playing teams on a week in, week out basis compared to playing at a place like Charlotte in years past?
I thought it was a lot of fun because at Charlotte our bigger games were midweeks, so to have that, energy built up every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was fun. It challenged you a lot mentally, but I loved the competition level, and I thought it was so much fun.
Going back to what we were talking about a second ago, too, I thought it was kind of cool that you had, so even just right there on the infield, your middle infield are two, Gamecocks. I know Brooke transferred, like, early in her career, but she'd been here a while. Carly literally, I think, like, enrolled early just to be here. And then at the corner spots, you had the two Charlotte transfers. Then you had Lexi. Then even your pitchers, you had Sam, who transferred in, but Jory, who had been here, and it was like it just kind of all came together. What was that part out like just there on the infield? And I know two-part for you here, the defense for you all. I felt like when y'all were on, like y'all made so many plays. There was like a synergy. I feel like where did that come from? Like I feel like y'all, especially throughout the postseason, like, y'all outplayed everybody y'all played defensively, I feel like, and it was a huge part in that regional of y'all winning the thing. So how did that just sort of all come together, like on the field, you think?
Yeah, I thought it was great to have Brooke and Carly up the middle, them having their connection. Obviously, as a middle infield, you need to have a great connection to, turn all those double plays and go back on balls. But then adding Ella and myself to the mix, I feel like it evened out both sides. You had the left side and the right side, and us two knowing how the coaches' systems work, but then Carly and Brooke knowing what it's like to play at Beckham day in and day out. I think we all just learned from each other. But, we pride ourselves on really good defense. We knew our pitching staff wasn't going to come in and strike out everyone, so we had to be behind them making all those plays. And, we just root ourselves in making the routine plays, but when you continuously make the routine plays, the plays that, you need to throw a little bit more effort at, they become a lot easier. So I think just our trust, knowing how good we are as well, like looking over to the person to your left or your right and being like, wow, they're really good, I'm going to have their back today and make this play for them. It was really freeing.
I remember when we had Coach on, I think before the regional, and we were talking about how great the defense had been. And there was like maybe one game, I think it was maybe in the SEC tournament, there was one game that was like uncharacteristic, and we asked her like, how do you handle that? What do you do? And she said, look, we just we don't hide from it. We go back to basics. But I guess the question is, it just made me think of this, like what was it about the coaching staff that they were able to, obviously you guys were very talented on the infield too, but was it just they harp on fundamentals constantly? It's the amount of work you put in. Like how were they able to create that environment where you could thrive defensively as a team?
I think their freedom for us to move how we want. You know, you go to all these other schools and they want everyone to feel the same way. Our coaching staff allows us to do what's most comfortable for us, and I think that comes with our motor preference training. But like you see Brooke Blankenship making sidearm throws below her knee, and it's kind of crazy because if I think about doing that, it hurts my elbow. But, you know, they just allow us to have the freedom to go out there and play how we want and not, you know, make us into a mold of all feel the same way. So I think that helps with our confidence. And then the belief they just instore in us. They told us at the beginning of the year that we could have the best infield in the country. And, you know, just knowing that in the back of your head that your coaches have that belief in you, it helps a lot.
Got a lot of things to get to over the course of the hour. Before we hit the break, though, our guy Mike Uva of Gamecock Central, who now works in Rhode Island in news up there, did want to pass along a Go Rams for your alma mater because he is listening. And LaSalle, is that correct?
Yes.
LaSalle Rams. Yes. So, yes, that's from Mike Uva.
Is that where Mike went? Or
I don't know.
No, that's not where Mike went.
I think he's just familiar.
He's very familiar with LaSalle.
No, he's in Rhode Island, right?
Yeah, no, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Where did Mike go to high school?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it wasn't Rhode Island, but
no, he's from Boston.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
But anyway, he is working in the area, so he passes along Go Rams for you.
Thank you, Mike.
We'll have more with Ari Rodi as the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Schooling and Heating rolls on live from Firehouse in Camden on your Thursday on the game. So you guys got started on the 20-game winning streak, which was the best in school history, obviously generated a lot of buzz. And you had this daunting task of going on the road to take on Oklahoma to start SEC play. You guys obviously came up short in those games, all by one run. But was that kind of a moment of like, hey, we really are good? Because, again, when you're playing some of the mid-major teams, maybe it's not the best gauge of how you're going to fare in SEC play. But going toe-to-toe with the dynasty of women's softball, did that kind of really confirm to what you guys thought about yourselves and how good you could be?
Yeah, I think it took some time to realize that, though. We weren't going to take any moral victory and being like, in every game we were one run away from, you know, beating Oklahoma. But after the fact, you know, all of their fans were super nice, and they came up to us and was like, you guys are one of the best teams we've played in a while. You know, we hope to see you guys in the SEC tournament or even Oklahoma City. So I think it took a little bit of time to realize how well we did play against them, and, you know, I think that was a big turning point for us in the season.
So Ashley has talked about Katie Browder being, in her opinion, like the best hitting coach in America. And I know she's heavily involved in everything y'all do and kind of runs the offense, I guess you would say. What can you tell us about Coach Browder, just being with her, you know, multiple years now, and maybe what she has meant to your career, you know, on and off the field?
Yeah, Coach Katie has helped me so much. After my freshman year, you know, I had to mature a little bit when it comes to playing and hitting and changing my mindset. And when she came in my sophomore year, she just allowed me to be myself and, you know, took my swing and we just made minor adjustments to it. But, you know, she saw the good in my foundation and, you know, we just built more off of it. So all my credit goes to her. She's my rock when it comes to hitting and fielding. She knows me better than myself at times. So she's just so awesome. And kind of like I said with fielding, like just allows you to do what you want, and we build around it. So I owe all my credit to her.
Speaking of hitting and Oklahoma, actually, I remember there was a quote after that series from Oklahoma's head coach where she was talking about how they honestly had some trouble in the field against you guys because of just like the way that you made contact. Like, can Can you put your finger on like what she may have been referring to there, just like how you guys put the ball in play?
I think she's referring to spread charts because, you have some people, like, you assume power hitters are strictly pull, and I feel like our team is very even-rounded with working the whole field. So I think, you try to shift people, according to numbers, but also you can also spray one down the right field line and no one's there.
So obviously you end up setting the program record for home runs in a single season. Is that something you're tracking along the way? Is somebody telling you this? Like, when were you becoming aware that you were in the area of potentially getting this record yourself?
My teammates actually were the ones to tell me how close I was. I tried to keep it far out of my mind as possible, just trying to stay within the game and, let the success happen, not, like chasing after result. But I kind of, after I hit, I think 13 or 14, it kind of just went out of my head because, I started feeling a lot better in the box, so I wasn't really even thinking about it until the Alabama game when I broke the record. And I came in the dugout and everyone was like, you did it. I'm like, did what? Like, we're winning this game. Like, what did I do? And they're like, you broke the record. And I was like, what? So, yeah, obviously not trying to, it's there, but you're not going to let it, paralyze you in the box.
I want to go back real quick to, you were talking about the spray chart, some of the data. Without giving away y'all's like internal secrets, it seems like this staff does use a lot of analytics and data and technology, but also at the same time they let you guys athletically kind of just when it comes to movement play the game the way you play to an extent. So how do you feel like they're able to like walk that line between, hey, we're going to listen to the data and give you guys the technology to succeed, but also let you sort of be yourself in how you want to play the game?
Yeah, I think our athleticism as a defense allows us to shift more because our infield has such great range. Even our outfield, they have strong arms, so it allows us to be in those strange positions on the field that you look out there and be like, why are there 3 people on the left side of the infield and only the first baseman's playing second base? I think our athleticism allows them to do that, but numbers don't lie, and we're going to use it to our advantage.
Speaking of that, again, Ari Rodi of Gamecock Softball joining us here on the Gamecock Club Hour. What's the difference in the resources available to you guys this season at South Carolina compared to what you guys had at Charlotte in years past?
Honestly, I would say it was more off-the-field resources. When it came to nutrition and academics was mind-blowing to me. I had no idea that all that stuff was available. But luckily with the same coaching staff, they kept their systems the same. Obviously, they had their own changes when it came to, data platforms and that stuff, but we didn't feel that effect as a team. So day-to-day operation felt pretty normal to me on the softball side. But outside of softball, it was really enjoying to have all those resources available as an athlete.
How important has that nutrition aspect been, you think, not just for you, but your whole team? It seems like in today's modern sports, all the athletes we talk about, kind of especially compared to high school where you're kind of just eating whatever, like every high school kid, and then you get in, like, wait, you start to learn all this extra stuff that could affect how you play on a given day. How important do you think that aspect has been for you specifically?
It's been huge for me. I know coming back from my injury in the middle of the year, I lost 15 pounds in less than a week. And, working with Josh and Jeremy, our strength and conditioning coach and nutritionist, they were able to get me back within healthy weight within 3 days of me being back playing. So it was mind-blowing, and obviously I didn't have that I had never dealt with that before, but just to go through that and have them there and the resources and being able to bounce back so quickly, it was eye-opening.
Well, we've had some of the baseball players in here, and they've talked about the analytics and resources that have trickled down into the high school levels. What's that like with softball? How much of the stuff that's being used in college is in the high school level now as well?
Not a lot. I would say it's more on the hitting side than defensively. You're starting to see a bigger push with it for pitching, but you don't see travel ball team or high school teams using shifts on players. It's so hard because you're playing a new team every day. It's not like you can go out here and scout for 12 teams that you could be playing in a tournament. Like, we're preparing for one team every weekend, so it's a little bit different.
And I would think as like softball gets bigger and bigger, because it feels like it's growing as a game now, that especially at y'all's level, that data is available. Like, I'm sure your coaches can pull up any given opponent, especially at the SEC level. Hey, this is a scouting report, easily accessible for every player on that team. Is that the case? Like, I imagine there's an Ari Rodi file on there where they know the exact percentage that you've hit to right field, center field, your exit velos. Like, how much data is out there on any given player at the Power 5 level, Power 4 level?
There's so much. Unfortunately, there's some out there on me. I wish there wasn't, but I think that's just the challenge of being in college. People are going to figure you out, and you have to every year you have to change yourself a little bit and develop yourself in some category that you've never really had to consider before. So I think that's the fun part about college softball is other people trying to figure you out, but you trying to develop yourself in a way that makes you different year to year.
What was your self-scout this year? Like, what were they doing to you in the box that you had to say, all right, I'm going to adjust to this, and then make them adjust to me again? Was there anything specifically?
I did not see a lot of inside pitches when it came to SEC play. They worked me a lot outside, so just adjusting my inbox placement. I like to hit outside pitches into opposite field, but I'm obviously going to turn on one if it comes inside. So, just trusting my hands in that point that even if I'm on the plate, I can still get to that inside pitch.
Well, and I'm fascinated by what you said between how the coaching staff lets you defensively and offensively lean on what you like to do, what you're good at doing, versus using data, right? So for you individually, when you're going into a weekend, okay, we're going to play Oklahoma, we're going whoever. Like, how much of it for you is studying a pitcher or a pitching staff and kind of strategizing versus just see ball, hit ball? You know what I mean? Like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, I think beforehand with watching video on the other pitchers and going through all the pitches that they throw, luckily in the game of softball, most pitchers are going to throw multiple pitches. So if there's one pitch that she throws that you don't like, she's going to have another one that she throws that you do like. So I think just having the balance between, she has her strength, but she also can throw to my strength. So I think beforehand preparing for that, but when you get into the box, honestly, it's just see ball, hit ball, compete. Like, if she leaves one hanging over the middle, like, I'm going to take advantage of that and swing. So I think that you can do all the mental preparation that you want if they're going to throw this, this, and this, but they still have to execute and we still have to hit the ball.
Ari Rodi of Gamecock Softball joining us today for the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. We'll have more coming up next, live from Firehouse Subs in Camden, going until noon here on the game. We obviously talked about your home run record a little bit earlier. Made more history yesterday as the first ever Gamecock player to win the Rawlings Softball Gold Glove Award. Was this something you knew you were in the running for? How'd you find out about this? And what's the emotions of now setting another record for South Carolina softball?
Yeah, when all of the postseason awards come out, the coaches obviously tell us, we've nominated 5 people for this award and other people for this award. So I knew people on our team got nominated for the award, but I had no idea that was in consideration. I was actually in my exit meeting yesterday with the coaches when they told me, and that's where the video came up from social media, but I was very shocked. I mean, I knew I played well defensively, but you just never know with those types of things. But I'm really proud of myself. The coaches have challenged me over the last 2 years. I'm known for my hitting, but you need a really good first baseman to be successful at this level. So I've challenged myself to, focus more on my defense, and the offense will come along with it because, that's just my strength. So I was really proud of myself, and, it was nice to see the recognition for all the hard work I've put in.
Well, that's a position where it's not just fielding your position, but you can save a lot of errors for your teammates, which I'm sure makes them very happy with you. Can you kind of speak to that, like maybe taking pride in 'cause, it's difficult as quick as you have to get the ball out, as fast as some of these runners are. Your infielders are throwing the ball from all these different angles. So if you can save an out by picking a ball or reaching, that goes a long way in the course of the season. So how do you feel like you maybe improved in just kind of reading the ball in those throws and picking them out of the dirt?
Yeah, I think Cass Krupa has done a really good job working with me. Obviously, I played behind her for a year at Charlotte, and then we both came here to Carolina last year. Cass would work with me every day at first base, just working within my footwork, timing, picks, coming off the bag. So, it was almost like I had my own individual practice within team practice, working at first base. So I know a lot of credit goes to her for putting the time and effort in with me. But, I just have the belief that our infielders can get to any ball. So I just tell them, get the ball to me and I will get the job done. You see Brooke Blankenship making all these Derek Jeter throws and, you just want the play to be completed. So it's just my job to secure the out at that point. So I think they do more of the harder work, and I just am there to, pick them up if they need it, because, those plays were game-changing plays. So they made the main effort. I'm just there to keep the ball in front of me.
What's your, it can be one of yours, or you can shout out a teammate. You got a favorite defensive play from this year? Because there are a bunch of candidates, I think.
Ooh.
We'll put her on the spot.
Yeah,
right?
This is tough.
Yeah.
I think collective team one would have been Q running in for the line drive against Clemson and picking her off at second base for the last out of the game.
Ended the game, yep.
But my favorite infield play was probably Carly Shelton diving into the 3-4 hole and then just lobbing the ball to me and making the pick. And I think that's my favorite because the umpire called her safe, but I knew, and I looked to the dugout with the headset motion. I was like, no, she's out. And then just seeing the joy of everyone when they came back and called her out and, everything.
The Emily Vincent over the wall grab at Clemson
that
was another
awesome.
amazing play. Is there a – because I feel like this motion – the headset motion is like everywhere now. Like if you watch an MLB game, if it's a remotely close call, that infielder's like. Yeah. Do y'all have like? Are y'all coached up on whether or not? Like do you have do you have to know that that it needs to be reviewed, or is it more like if you think they need to look at it, you go like this? Like, is there a specific direction on when you're allowed to do that, or not really?
For me, it's like I know that the play, like I can feel it. Like you can just feel when the runner's coming down the line, when your foot's on the bag, that you can feel the runner touching the bag too. So I feel like I only do it when I know for sure. If it's a close play, they will look at me and I'll be like, I truly don't know. So I only do it when I full-heartedly know that the runner's out.
He mentioned Major League Baseball next year. We're anticipating they're going to have the automatic ball strikes in the regular season to be able to be reviewed like they did in the spring this year. Is that something that softball you think could look into as well?
I'm not sure. I think you might be seeing that more on the professional side once, that league gets more developed. But I don't think you'll see a change in college softball when it comes to that.
Now, if you're in the batter's box and the umpire calls a strike that you think is a ball, you're saying something, you're looking at them, what's your reaction to those kind of things?
I know in my head, every day at practice we're doing ball strike recognition, so I feel like I have a pretty good, gauge on the strike zone, but every umpire has their own strike zone, so usually I'll look at Coach Katie and I'll be like, I think that was a little low, and she'll just nod her head in agreement, but at that point, he's going to keep calling it the whole game, so you just have to adjust your plan to whatever they're calling, but not letting it affect you emotionally.
Do y'all have some telepathy going on out? I feel like watching. If you go to one of their games and you watch the first base coach and the third base coach, they're over there looking at each other, and it's like they're talking to each other in their heads. When they step out and look at the third base coach, it's almost like nobody's saying anything, but y'all have made eye contact. Is there some kind of you know what I'm thinking and I know what you're thinking going on?
Oh, 100%. I think it's. You can really see it through the coaches. I mean, they've coached together for a long time, even though they've been separated for a little bit and then they've come back together. But they all have a past history at Ole Miss. So getting to see them work together is really fun because it's like they never took a day off with each other. But I think just being with each other day in and day out, they know exactly what we're thinking, and they can read our bodies and our faces more probably than we can realize. So I know Coach Katie can read my mind, and I don't even know what I'm thinking, so it's really fun.
This is probably an even better question for the coaches, obviously, but just from your perspective, watching, just the team that Coach Chastain Woodard's assembled, and maybe being a part of some of their recruiting, when players come in on visits and things like that. What do you think maybe the ideal player is? Position player, right? Different than pitcher. But what are maybe the traits that you think this coaching staff really, really values in a player?
I think at this level, everyone is good and has their fundamentals. So I feel like for us it's a lot different when we recruit. We're looking for the culture and the like how you are as a person, because you made it to this level, you can play anywhere. So we're looking for people who want to play for Carolina, want to play for a passionate coaching staff who shares the same love for you. And, they just come from a good family, because you think that doesn't have an effect on the field, but it really does. So it's more about the right fit as a person than a player. And then you're playing, evidently, if you're in a healthy environment, your playing will come along.
How involved have you been in the recruiting aspect? I know they're picking the players to go after, but I feel like when you were on before, you had maybe hosted some. Did we get those players, first of all? Like, did you do your job?
We got a couple, yes.
Okay, all right. Good job. But how involved are you or just your teammates in? I know the coaches are going to talk to the recruits, but do y'all get to be involved a good bit and just like, hey, this is what the program's all about, and getting a feel? I'm sure y'all get an even better feel for who these prospects are as people, because y'all are going to be around them during the weekend when they're here, I'd imagine. Yeah,
so for the high school recruits, they come and stay with us on campus. So we get time away from the coaches to talk to them, and kind of as an experience of, like, we've been through this, what you're going through, we kind of ask them some questions that, like, they maybe don't even think of, but, like, we thought of after the fact and wish someone asked us. So it's like, what are you studying? Like, school has to be a priority, because yeah, you can go out and play softball for 4 years and have the best time of your life, but what are you going to do after that? And what are you looking for in a culture? Do you want to be a part of something big, or do you just want to go out there and play softball? So I feel like for the high school recruits, we're a lot more involved than transfers, but the transfers, the coaches usually take the reins on that, and we'll help when needed if they ask us, reach out with a text or something, but that's Jody's lane, and we'll let him do his job.
Yeah, so, Ari, let's close this thing out on a high note. What's coming up next? I know you got a little bit of time off, but you were telling me you're going to be playing some summer ball. So tell everybody out there what is next for you, and then, of course, before you know it, you'll be right back here getting ready for senior year, right?
Yeah, so in June and into July, I'll be going to Colorado and Canada to play with Triple Crown. Dave King just throws together a team that goes and plays against international teams. We're all just a bunch of college players from all different schools. So it's really fun just getting to throw yourself out there into a new environment, but then also getting the experience of playing some international teams.
Now, will all those games be here in the States, or you actually get to travel around the world for some of that stuff?
We'll go to Colorado, so we'll play against professional teams. So I'll actually be playing against Sam Gress in a game, which will be fun. I hope she doesn't throw. But then the rest of our games will be played in Vancouver, Canada.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, you will have, you've scrimmaged against Sam before, right? So
yeah.
What do you think that would be like? What are y'all going to be laughing as you look at each other? Like, if you face her?
I think I might be laughing, but I know she will not.
She will not. Oh, she's going to be bulldog mode.
Yeah.
So who has the advantage?
Careful.
It's tough to say, because in the 3 years I've known Sam, in live at-bats and scrimmages, we have gone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This year there was a little lull, though. She had my number for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I get her with my little jam shots, because, every team does it against. They don't get flush contact, and somehow it just finds a way to drop. So I got her back a little bit with some jam shots, but in the past it was like she would get me out, I would get a hit. It would just back and forth.
What were you thinking as she was laying out for that ball in the infield? Game 1 of the Super, I think. I mean, we've seen her. She tagged that girl out, diving for her too. I know the staff's over there stop diving, but that was a beautiful play. You don't see pitchers just making that play, I feel like.
Yeah, growing up I was told, especially if you're a PO, your uniform shouldn't be dirty. That obviously doesn't go towards Sam. She's just an incredible athlete. In her past years of college, she's played every single position but catcher. So, I trust her with the ball to go for it. But in the moment when she was diving for that, I just thought about the cut she had on her hand from the tag she made for the prior week. So I was like, "Are you okay?" And I looked down and her hand was bleeding, and I was like, I was trying to be, controlled, but also try to get the attention of the coaches and be like, "Hey, she's bleeding. Can we get someone out here?" without letting the other team know. But she has full reign, and as as a defense, knowing with all the crazy shifts that we do, like we could all be so far away from those little dribblers and little blue pop flies. Just to know that she's on the mound and she can make those plays, it's really easy. And, you put your full trust into the shift.
Anything away from softball you're going to be doing for fun this summer?
I'm going to watch my boyfriend play in his regional this weekend.
Where does he play?
He plays for the University of Rhode Island.
Okay.
They're going to Baton Rouge, so
Very
I'm
cool.
going back to LSU.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. That'll be a great environment, though.
Yes.
I feel like that'll be fun. That's cool. How much do y'all bounce like kind of sports ideas off of each other versus just like keeping that to the side? Like, do y'all help each other a lot out in terms of on the field stuff?
During the summer, we train together. We go to the same gym, and we'll hit together every day. But I think we use each other to our advantage because I've had experience at the college level. He's in his freshman year, so kind of the innocenceness of like being fresh to the game kind of reminds me of like, hey, I used to be like that, like enjoy the game a little bit more. But then when something, going through a slump or something comes up, it's more of me making the statement just because I've been through 3 years of this now.
What position does he play?
He plays first base.
Okay, perfect.
Who's the better defender? Okay. Who's the better hitter? All right.
Well,
Love it.
I would say, is he setting program records?
He's only a freshman,
Yeah.
so we'll see what he does.
He has time, but
He has time, but
as of
yes.
right now, it's me.
You're racking up the awards.
Now we have a team to cheer for in the baseball side of things. Well, Ari, thanks for hanging out with us, and it was so much fun watching you this year, and can't wait to watch you next year as well.
Thank you so much.
That'll do it for the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Coming up next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour live at Firehouse Subs here in Camden. Go until noon on the game.